Gantt charts, calendars, and timelines are fairly common things to do in businesses, and they end up looking a bit like this. You've got your dates across the top, you've got your activities down the side with the start and the end. This one here, for instance, starts on the 1st of January, runs out till the 10th, and the temptation here is to do that, and you fill it with a colour, and then you take that one from the 7th to the 15th for 5th, 6th, 7th, and you do the next one and colour that by hand. The trouble is, when you do that, and these dates change as they inevitably do in a timeline, you've got to recolour everything by hand, and you don't want to do that. What you want to do is to find out how to do it dynamically, and this is where I'm going to try and hold your hand and take you to the edge of the precipice. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to undo that and clear it out. What we want to do is to have a formula that will tell us whether that date there sits between these two dates here. And that's easier said than done. What I'm going to do is just to make these columns a little bit wider for the purposes of the demonstration, and we'll fix it later. You'll see why I'm doing this in a second. Okay, I'll build up the formula piece by piece because some of these formulas and these expressions may be a little unfamiliar to you. Equals, does that cell there, is it greater than equal to that cell there? Is the 1st of January greater than or equal to the 1st of January in this case? It's true. Now, if I'm going to copy it down, I want to make sure that I'm always looking at that cell there. In other words, I don't want D4, I want $4. And also, I want to make sure that that cell there is also B5, B6, B7, etc. That can move down, but I don't want the column to move when I copy it across. So I want to put a $sign in there. Still true, that's good. Let's see if that works for these cells here. True, 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 true. These ones are false. That one would be, there it is, it's true. The 7th of January just start there. So that bit seems to be working. I've just undone that in order to carry on working with this. Aha, you say, that's only half the formula. I said, is that cell there greater than that one? It also has to be less than that one. I want to make sure that two things are true here, or two conditions are satisfied, and I'll put it in brackets. If that is true, comma, and anything else is that I can have as many parameters as you like on this, but it's only two things I'm interested in here. I want something very similar here, that should be less than or equal to that. And that should do it, except for my $signs, because I'm still in $4, because I always wanted to be looking at that row, and I always wanted to looking at column C because that's my end, and press enter, and that works. I'm going to copy that all the way across to here just to see what that looks like. And I've got true, 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 true out to the 10th, which is correct. And I've got this one here that starts on the 7th and should run out to the 15th, 13, 14, 15, and then goes back to false again. Brilliant, except it's a bit unreadable, isn't it? I don't want it to say true, false. I want it to do something with that makes it actually much more visible. So I'm going to combine this with an if statement. I'm going to say if that is true, comma, put a number 1 in. And if it isn't true, I'm going to put quote, quote for nothing. In other words, make it blank if it isn't true and put a number 1 in like that if it is true. I'm going to copy it across. In fact, I'm going to copy it right the way to the end here. Okay. And that's looking rather nice, actually, isn't it? What I'm going to do now is to put these columns back the way they were. Column width wise, I think I chose 4. I may be wrong. Yeah, that'll do it. Okay. And now I realize I've got a little bit more copying to do. I want to copy that, because when I changed the width, I clipped off right to the end of February, and I know I'm going to need those. That's it. Now you can see something looking a little bit like a Gantt chart, whether the ones are in the columns for the date and it starts to move across. Okay, but I don't want ones, I want colors. What I'd like to do now is just introduce a conditional format, a new rule, and the new rule will be format all cells using a format that contain a equal to 1. And I'll format the cell with a fill, and I'll use that color there, and I'll say OK. So any cell that's got a 1 in it will go a different color, and that did, but I'm not quite finished with the conditional formatting. Manage the rules. I need it to apply not just to that cell, but to this whole area here. Whoops. And yeah, that'll do it. Can't get it to stretch any further. And say OK. Yay! Almost there. I want to get rid of the ones next because I'm only interested in the color. I'd like to say conditional formatting, manage the rule. Going to manage that same rule. Only one rule needed here. Edit the rule and use change the format. We did the fill just earlier to make it colored. I'm going to change the number here, and I'm going to choose a custom number. And here is a great unwritten secret of Excel. And I won't go into the whys and wherefores, but if you format a cell, a semicolon, 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 a magic thing happens that it actually blanks out any text that's in it. You don't believe me? OK, and OK, and the numbers have gone. It still actually does resolve to a number internally, but it just won't display it. What else can I do just to improve things here? Conditional formatting, manage the rules. I'm not very happy with the way these cells merge together. I'd like a little separator between them. I can edit that rule and use a format it. And this time I'm not going to use the custom formatting for that, which we use for the semicolon, semicolon, semicolon. I'm not going to use the fill for the color there. I'm going to use the border. And I'm going to set a border of the color being white, or in fact no color, but just for the bottom of it, and say OK, and OK, and OK. And now, oh, just makes me feel so satisfied now. That's looking good, and it's working over there as well. What happens if I change the date here? Let's just prove this works, not for the 1st of January, but to the 4th of January. Miraculous. And move that one out to the 12th of January. And now we've got a dynamic timeline. It's the building blocks. There's more you can do with it, and maybe I'll do a part 2 of this showing how to make all the bells and whistles work. But I hope you can see that this is the starting place for your charts, and it's going to make your work look an awful lot more professional. Thank you very much.